And welcome to the New World Order. Now, that was the message from British Prime Minister Gordon Brown today, and that is our headline this Thursday night, day number 73 of false hope, loose change all around the globe. Now, President Obama met with world leaders today in London at the gee whiz, hey, how can we bilk the taxpayers just a little more G20 summit? Now, Mr. Obama said the meeting is a, quote, turning point as world leaders agreed on a framework for unprecedented steps to so-called restore economic growth. But here at home, well, people are not so convinced. In a brand new Fox News poll released today, 66% of Americans polled believe that the worst is still yet to come in the economic crisis, while only 27% think that the worst is behind us. Maybe that's because TurboTax cheat Tim Geithner can only claim, get this, a very low approval rating of just 37%. Ouch. I bet he wishes that he ponied up that extra money in payroll taxes. Joining us tonight from London with more is Daniel Hannan. He is a member of the European Parliament. Daniel, good to see you. You've become quite a celebrity here in the U.S., especially among conservatives. I hope you're aware of your new status.
It's a huge honor to be on your show for any conservative, or indeed for anyone, Sean.
Well, welcome back. Look, first of all, I guess I'm going to start with the anarchists and the people that are protesting. The British papers seemed a little bit defensive, you know, and more or less addressing President Obama, saying, whoa, this is not all of us. Why were they so defensive? I found that somewhat curious, as if he wouldn't know.
I suppose people wanted to make a good impression on him. I mean, and to be fair, he's pretty popular abroad. You know, his wife came to visit a girls' school in London, and she spoke very movingly. I mean, I know he wasn't your choice of president. Gordon Brown wasn't my choice of prime minister, but I think that people recognise that it's a good thing when the British and American leaders are working together, and people in this country regard you as their closest allies, and so that, I guess that was why they didn't want to let the side down.
Well, we certainly do share values, and Great Britain has always been our closest ally, and the values in this world, especially in a world of terrorism, I think are ideal. Perhaps there's too much fixation on gifts and what Michelle Obama is wearing in meeting the Queen. A little alien to me, in as much as, you know, people are suffering. I'm not really concerned about what gifts wealthy people are giving each other, nor am I concerned what the First Lady is wearing. Are we spending too much time and attention and putting too much focus on that?
Well, except insofar as it was seen to be a snub when Obama was kind of slapping Brown around. And, you know, I mean, believe me, Brown is not popular in this country. We all know that he's a ninny, but people kind of felt bad that he was being slapped around by Obama when we would rather that we slap him around. You know, that's our national pastime.
Well, the perception from here, for me and for other conservatives, is that basically Barack Obama rolled over. Barack Obama capitulated.
I mean, first of all, it's very clear that he and Brown are buddy-buddy now. I mean, all of that business from last month is over, you know. He couldn't have been more effusive. He used the word special relationship without the ghost of a smirk around his lips. And then there was that great thing about, we all owe Prime Minister Brown a great debt of gratitude. At first I misheard. I thought he was saying we all owe Gordon Brown a great debt, which would have been much more accurate. Right? But yeah. You know, and why? Well, because those two were for the stimulus package, and on the other side, Sarkozy and Merkel and all the others were for more regulation. And kind of what I was afraid of seems to be what's happened at this summit, which is we got a little bit of both bad ideas. So we've got more regulation, okay, not as much as Sarkozy wanted, but we've got, under the guise of cracking down on tax havens, we've got all these steps towards creating a sort of a global financial oversight mechanism, and at the same time we've got $1 trillion stimulus package. Now, you know, to adapt your famous senator, $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there, and pretty soon you're talking real money. Yeah,
pretty soon you are. Well, you mentioned Sarkozy and Merkel, and I would agree they came in with a pretty harsh stance, seem to get what they want, but it seems like the love affair with Barack Obama in Europe seems to be waning and may even be over. I mean, you know, to have the European Union president saying the Obama plan is leading the United States to hell, that was not the kind of criticism we were getting during the campaign.
I mean, it was always going to be the case that eventually the European obsession with Obama was going to wear off. And the reason for that is that there are fundamental disagreements between the US and the EU on a whole series of issues, which Obama, like any US president, is not going to be able to drop his position on. And so when all of the real anti-Americans on the left bank in Paris and in the left-wing parts of Berlin and so on, when they kind of remember that they still really don't like you guys because of Kyoto and because of Iraq and because of Iran and because of Cuba, you know, the political complexion, or indeed the actual complexion of Barack Obama, is not going to be a defense against their anti-Americanism anymore. You know,
when you were last on the program, you put so much emphasis. You looked in the camera and you said, if you only remember one thing from this interview, please remember, do not follow us down the road of socialism. Do not nationalize your health care. And we got more mail, more responses, more people, I think, getting it. You know, for many, many years, for example, I have focused on the papers in Great Britain and in Canada and in France talking about the inefficiency and the lack of quality care that exists under that system. Can you explain with some specificity why you are giving such a dire warning to the people of the United States?
Because you're our friends, and if you see a friend about to make a terrible mistake, you try and warn him. And we've lived through this mistake. We've lived through this mistake for 60 years now. It began with the best of intentions. It began because people thought it was wrong for those who weren't well off and couldn't afford the best health care to be treated differently, and everyone felt, well, it's kind of a nice togetherness, kind of solidarity thing if we all take part in this experiment. But the reality is it hasn't worked. It has made people iller. We spend a lot of money and we get very bad results. You look at survival rates for cancer or heart disease, we are well down on all the leagues. We have very few doctors. We disincentivize people from practicing medicine in this country. A lot of our best and brightest doctors emigrate. A lot of them go to North America because there's no market. There's nothing that helps them. And of course, the government for a long time would always say, well, we can just make this work a little bit more if we spend more. So the current government has almost increased by about 80% spending on healthcare. But of course, as long as you have a socialist system, no amount of extra spending is going to rescue it. And so there was an absolutely neat example of the unplanned consequences of socialism. The government decreed centrally that all general practitioners were going to get a big pay rise. Well, doctors are human beings. They understandably started working shorter hours. Yeah. So the effect of this massive injection of government cash wasn't just to be useless, it actually made it worse.
I read the Daily Mail. The National Health Services, your nationalized health care, has a government rationing body, and they just determined that women with advanced breast cancer were not going to get medicine because it was too expensive. And that was just in the last,
That's right.
That was just in the last 2 weeks. So let me ask final question. Do you, as a more conservative thinking individual in Great Britain warning America, do you see America's now on the path going down that socialism road that you've gone down? Is there any way we can stop that?
Well, I mean, you're way in a better position than us. You're not starting from where we are. And you've got a dispersal of power. I mean, this is a great thing that your country has, that because you've got states' rights, you've got 50 different jurisdictions, you've got the capacity to experiment, and something that is going wrong in one place, the others learn from, something that's going right, the others can copy. We don't have that. When we make a mistake, we stick with it. And, you know, this has been the case with healthcare. You can't get rid of it because so many people now getting their living out of it. You know, it's the biggest employer in the world after the Chinese Red Army. So it's a very difficult thing for a British government to get rid of. Do I see you going down that road? Well, look, I am worried about the spending. I'm worried about the stimulus and the pork barrel, which began under the previous administration, has speeded up under this one. There's people in both parties who have been doing it. We're doing it worse, but that isn't a good enough reason for you guys to be doing it. Well, you know, and this thing, it's been, I don't know, maybe Fox is going to restore a little bit of sanity into the debate here. But I've got to say, in the UK, where we've been covering this G20 summit very intensely, all of the coverage has been how wonderful, we've saved everything because we've injected $1 trillion, we've pumped $1 trillion into the world economy. Yeah, from where? Like where how do you get $1 trillion except from the world economy, you know, to put it at its widest, you know? So all we've done is taken money that would have been spent by individuals and given it to great international global institutions to spend for us.
Daniel, I'm hoping one day I get to introduce you as Mr. Prime Minister. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.